Hey guys, welcome back to another Naafiri guide video. This one is going to be covering Naafiri items and runes since the rework, right? There's been the last video I made regarding like runes and stuff. I think it was like cute, right? And this is after the rework, right? Runes overall hasn't really changed much since that, but I will get into some of the things that may have missed out or like I've adapted to since then, right? So we're gonna be talking about that. But first we're gonna go into the items. Now for the items, right? This is by the way, just a reminder here, this is for the new patch that just dropped, right? So this is with the latest Naafiri nerfs, right? With the W cooldown going up to 26, right? So this is for yeah, this is for this new patch here, right? With the nerfs. So as for the items though, right? We're going to be getting into we're gonna be talking about the like the different builds that you can go, right? And so forth. But for right now, though, I will tell you this though. For the Bills, right? Fury, before, right, we had a distinct passing bill and then like a bruiser bill, right? Now, the more I've played, right, I've been able to like there are games where I'll go like a clear bruiser bill and then um and then maybe there would be on the squishier end, right? But I will say though, Naafiri builds have kind of like evolved quite a bit since then, right? And so I'm going to get into it, right, and talk about some of the stuff here. So first off, right, I want to show you guys this. So for starter items, right, door and blade is good, door and shield good. They're the typical two things that I would go, right? I don't do longsword start, typically speaking, because Naafiri is very, very, very squishy. So going without one of these items is just like gonna set you up for, I mean, give you a really hard line. Now there's games where everyone call, but that's like a not me specific thing. Like I'm going against somebody that I know can't do anything. So it's like some kind of tank top or some non-interactive made something, right? So just to throw that out there, right? If you're one of those people that, feel like you can identify that, then sure you can go ahead and run in those angles. But otherwise, right, just stick to these items as things stand. Okay. Now, as I said, long to start, don't really be doing that much. Now for the items, right? I do want to say that you know how we were going go straight a lot earlier this year. The meta have shifted back to Eclipse most games, and that is because if you've been playing, right, or just watching streams or like you know or so, you'd notice that a lot of people are building age. So because the major items, right, Rod of Ages, Rallies, and all of these things that just give people a bunch of HP, ADCs, Trinity Force, right? Um, tanks, like tank supports, bruiser junglers building like Sunder Sky and so forth, right? So the meta shifted back to where you go Eclipse a lot of games, but it's not only because of that though, right? There is another reason, and that is because of the rework. So the rework changed up a lot of things, right? Where the W is now like a spell that you can actually use in trades. Like, so for example, right, you use the way how you use W now compared to before, right? Like two different abilities, right? They're swapped. So W has a lot more interactive now, right? Because the old W wasn't using a lot in a lot of playing scenarios, right? So the cooldown on it really didn't matter, to be honest, because you were not using it off cooldown. Now, your current W, right? You're not using it off cooldown per se, but there's times in fights where you know if that second W comes up like later in the game, right? You get it off, it's gonna be looking really good, right? So that has leaded Naafiri into a more CR heavy type build, especially with the nerfs to W dispatch, where the W cooldown went from 22 to 26, right? In the early game. Until you max it out right, yeah, it's gonna come down to the same. But it just means that, you're if you don't build CDR, you're gonna find yourself in situations where you might wish your W was up and it wasn't. So, and that is kind of the reason why I was going. This is what I want to say, but like an assassin build of Naafiri, like a pure assassin with like Ghost Blade, maybe into like Axiom. I've not been doing that, right? Not been at all. I can show you that here. Like these are my games. So this icon, right, just got the challenger, right? This you can see here 301. So by tonight it will promote. Well, by the time this video drop, it would already promote. But I've not done any axiomark builds at all, right? Especially with Nefer just getting squishier, losing damage, and there's just not really an incentive to do it, right? Like trying to one shot people and then what happens afterwards? You just get blown up because you're so squishy, you know? Yeah. I mean, your damage is still fine, right? But it's fact that you're so squishy, right? Kind of want to like, keep that going for you, like having your W. But uh, as things are though, right? It doesn't mean that you must empty out all your things on CDR, right? It's just like how things play out. So first off, we're back to Eclipse, right? Now the spare Sojin is right here because a lot of games, most games, I kind of do like go spare Sojin second, right? And I do it if the enemy has like, let's say the enemy is not going to build armor, right? And their base armor is low-ish, you know. So it's like they don't have extra armor. They're not going to build it soon, and or their base armor is kind of lowish and not going to be high. So, because I want to say those three things, right? Because people, right, you gotta understand when you're building your items, it's not just this guy doesn't build armor, so I'm just gonna build like spear. But if you let's say you're playing against, I don't know, I'm just throwing that out there, right? Let's say you're playing against Darius or something, and then they go Deadsman second, or they build this armor item second. Like you wanna build in anticipation of what you're going to build, right? You want to have these knowledge so it helps you like have your a smoother build like path compared to what you're facing. Because just because like for example, right? Let's say you're playing an AP champion and people be like, oh well, I'm solo AP, so I don't need to build for it. But if they have a bunch of tanks, right? And you have certain tank items that they can build, they're likely going to build magic resist, right? You see a Mumu, right? Abyssal Mask or Mokai, these champs love building that item. So it is very high chance that they build it, right? So you want to build with the knowledge of what the enemy is likely to build. So if you're facing somebody that can build Zarya second, or they're gonna go Zarya's third, whatever, grabbing armor pen item early is nice. Cool. So, but right now, spear build a lot. Now, the reason why we didn't go spear, we've been building spear since November. I pointed it out last year when I created the bruiser build, which is what people are running in jungle right now. So I'm the one that like put that build out. You guys remember? In that video, I talked about the fact that Spear Solution was fixed, so it works with the dogs, right? It didn't work before then, right? It's around early November or late October, from that timeline, right? Last year. But because Spear didn't work before, right? You never, I didn't never, I would never recommend it. But now that it does, right? We've been building it, and as the game progressed, we've been building it more, and now we're at a point where, Spear Soldier second item is looking really nice. Still, right? As you know, I've been running this item. I've been saying like, hey, when I'm doing certain bruiser builds, right, I would basically going this and saying if they're gonna be low armor, I'll go this. If not, I'll go cleaver. Right? So yeah. And you guys know what it does, right? In terms of other than the damage, it gives a lot of CDR and the basic abilities. Now, that's the thing with Axiom, right? Axiom give you back the ulti, gives you basic abilities. Now, from I've been playing more with the new Naafiri, right? I've not needed to go I'm not needed to be like, oh, I need my ulti up, kill people because like on Release, right? With how Naafiri was, you go in, you just kill somebody with your ulti. As long as your ulti was up, somebody was dead. That's how it kind of felt. So going full assassin with Axiom kind of felt a little nice because of that. But now people are used to how Naafiri works, right? Nurse has come in, so that is harder to pull off. So yeah. So next item I want to talk about here is Cirilla. You guys know I always love Cirilla because of the fact that it slows when you ability damage. So your you bleed ability damage, but your dogs, those are counted as an ability damage as well. So that means that when your dogs are hitting people, they will be slowed, right? As long as they're 50%. Now they did do a buff to this item. They did move the armor pen up by 5% and lower the ability is by 5, which means that there is a difference between this and Cleaver in terms of the armor pen that they provide and the ability haste that you get. All right, the damage. This has always had 5 more 80. So this is I like going these items most games. And I will say though, I did mention this somewhere in one of those videos that I posted. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't, right? But I did state because I stream, so sometimes I feel like I've said something a lot of times, and then oh wait, I didn't actually say it in a video or something. But I think I did though. Cleaver got a little worse on Rework Naafiri. The reason why that is because the R does so much damage now that if you were use R as your opener, that means you don't have the armor pin on the opponent. So your R can be a lot of the damage can be mitigated because of that, right? So that's the reason why it's worse, but that doesn't mean it's bad. Still find item on the field, right? And if you play around it too, then which is like queuing first before you ult, then yeah, like there's no change there, right? Cool. So after this item though, right? These are kind of like the core items I love to build on Naafiri right now. Yeah, the rest of the items though is like situational stuff. So in terms of like what comes after this, right? People be like, okay, so what comes next? And this is where after at this point, right? This is where in this spell you have the situational items that you can go. So you can go Edge Knight, right? If you want to dive in, as before, right? Edge Knight, dive in, block us ability, and you're good to go. But because of the W, right, I found myself not needing Edge Knight a lot of times. Although, right, the way how it really depends on the champion because some champions, right, if you're Ring them from a very far range and they have their ability to cancel you, Edge Knight is gonna be nice. But if you can like get close enough where you can threaten something running towards them or in first into W to dodge, then yeah, like you don't necessarily need this, right? But it's still a goaded item in the Fury because canceling your R right now is big, right? Your R does so much damage. Not just a gap close ability now, it is actually a damaging ability, unlike before, right? Although the old dash, right, it did make it so that you can it can do it could do damage late game, but early game it was doing less than auto attack, so it was never really a word for damage. Um and oh yes, also when you say running up to opponents like that, the E range did get buffed, so it is very possible to do. But Other than that, though, every item here is still like the same. You know, serpents is always gonna do the most damage out of like any item if it's a good shield angle. Sorry, shield break angle. I talked with someone last night on a stream. Someone in chat was saying, "Oh, you know, they got all scared by your name, blah 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 blah." Um, and I asked, "Did they build serpents?" Right? I don't remember why I asked that, but I did ask, and they said they didn't because they were so far ahead. I was like, "Okay, did Yone go shield ball?" Like, yeah. So, like, if you're playing against Yone or Yasuo and they're gonna go shield ball, serpents is the best second item you can build over this. So I would literally build serpents here and then go Sorella. And then throw in spear afterwards. Right? That's how I would do it. Simple. That's how you would do it. And other than that though, right? Other than serpents, you have death stance, mod. These are very good items. As you know, if you need armor resistance, uh very good because or physical damage resistance. Yeah. But anyways, yeah, if you need either of these, all right, or both, you can build them. It's very nice. And this build, by the way, right, I like to call this build the I love to call this build the caster build, right? Because I've been calling the different builds different names so you guys can have a idea of how they kind of work. But it doesn't mean that it's direct or the only way you can play the build, right? I like to call this a caster build. Reason why I like calling caster is because all these items just gives damage and CR, and it doesn't rely on you going melee range to kill an enemy because you have so much CR. So that's why I call it caster. Eclipse, throw Qs, CDR, proc, damage from spear soldier stacks up. Doom. Sorella armor pen immediately, so you get the damage plus the slow. Also allows you to hit more spells. Also allows your dogs to get more auto attacks in because they can't outrun the dogs. They can't kite it. And then see their boots on top, you know. And also remember, all these boots are viable. This did get nerfed though, but I mean, it still does what it does, right? I don't really build this though. I usually go CDR boots like 90% of my games, right? I hardly ever go these boots, but it's still good to go them when it's good, right? It just depends on what you're playing against. If you are playing against Permasouls like Rallies, Stinge, stuff like that, Ash, good, right? Or Zillion, you know, this is good. Merc Treads, if they have an actual CC, not knockups, right? CC, not suppressions, stuns, roots, like, you know, stuff like that. And steel caps, right? This is good for auto attackers, not Zeds, right? I mean, you could use it for a Zed, but you know, it's not good versus like things that aren't auto attacking to do their damage. If they're auto attack based, yes. If they're not, don't really want this as your armor item, right? Okay. Same thing with mercs. Don't ever build mercs, right? For magic resist. This thing gives literally 20 magic resist. Magic, all magic mantle, which is 400 gold, gives you 20 magic resist. So you spent 1,250 gold for the same amount of magic resist as 20. Never do that. Okay. As I said, right, if you really want resistances, these are your options. Cool? These are your primary options. Now, I also want to talk about Ghostblade. Now, Ghostblade does like the same thing here in terms of like the same bill, right? I might just put it in here like this. Like so, if you aren't playing against HE Sackers, and let's say you have an early kill, you know, you have an early nice little start. I should know. I don't want to phrase it that way because it makes it seem like you go Ghostblade because or Eclipse based on how if you're like if you're behind, you go Eclipse. or if you're heavy go, I don't want to use that word. What's really nice about Ghost Blade is the Serrated Dirk and the movement speed on completion. Or yeah, I mean the component. I don't really build a component part to be honest, but like early. But if I do get it, I'll get it. I rather focus on damage first. But Ghost Spade, right? You can if you're building Ghost Spade, right? You just swap out Eclipse for Ghost Blade. That's all you're doing. Get the Serrated Dirk, and then you're gonna get Serrated Dirk 1k gold for it. It's a very huge spike, and then you go um get level 6, run to Grubs. Well, Grubs move to 8 minutes now, huh? But either way, you have a big damage spike off Serrated in the early game because of it. And then once you complete, you get a movement speed, which allows you to kind of like 1v9 in a sense. When I say 1v9, I mean like be everywhere. So you're mid lane, you crash mid wave, then you run, go bot lane, boom, you gank bot, and you run back mid and catch some other wave, right? Or you go top, you invade, you ward. Like that's what Ghost Wave is really nice for, and that's what you're gonna love about Billy, right? Otherwise, though, the meta right now with the mages stacking if they're going like the Rudder Aegis build, yeah, I love to go Eclipse versus that. But if not, Ghost Blade, I can one shot them and just run around the map, take over. Really good. And this map, and this also really good at snowballing. I'm gonna lie though, because the movement speed allows you to just run everywhere, so you can push mid and then run bot. Like it allows you to snowball harder than Eclipse can because of the movement speed to allow you to run around and be everywhere and applying a lot of pressure. It's also a little cheaper too, so that's always a big thing, right? Any item that is cheaper is like always gonna be really nice to build because you get this item because the way how item gold thing work, right, is that let's say you get gold spade, like let's say I can recall and go get ghost spade, right? And then you have to be like, oh, I gotta save for one more wave. But dragon is spawning in 30 seconds. See? That's what I mean. And then you get the prio, you get the tempo because of it. Now, this is typically what I do though for like my regular builds, right? I'm facing just regular champs and whatnot. Now, Bruiser Bill, right? This is, as I said, this is like the caster bill. So you kind of go caster bill a lot of games, right? If you go Ghostblade though, I don't really call it. That's the thing. That's why it's kind of like meshing in now because if I go Ghostblade, I don't call it caster bill because Ghostblade isn't like it doesn't fit the theme, you know. But it is. It's still really nice though because like you just running and diving on people. Like these items are still good at diving on, right? So it does a lot. Now, as for the bruiser bill, right? This is where you guys were very familiar with bruiser bill, right? Uh, bruiser bill is typically Eclipse. Okay, how do I move this? Right click. Bruiser bill. Say like you go Eclipse, go Cleaver, right? And what the difference between bruiser bill and caster bill, though, typically speaking, is that caster bill or the ghost blade into these items bill is well, not ghost blade necessarily, but more like caster bill, right? The big difference between this and this that with this you don't need to go in, so you don't need to feel you don't need tankiness because you're not actually going in to take much damage, right? You still will go in at points, right, and take damage, of course. But the bruiser bill is supposed to be like, okay, you're gonna run in melee with these guys and you're gonna be brawling, right? And they're gonna be hitting you and you're gonna be hitting back. But you don't wanna be dead when they hit you, you know? So Cleaver gives you 400 HP, Death Stance for resistance, Spear Soldiering for the HP, 450, even more than Cleaver, right? 50 more and more. Now, how Bruiser Bill works, right? There's several ways you can do this itemization. Like with the caster build up or just regular stuff, right? Normally, if I go Eclipse or Yomus, I will also build. I may go Serpent second, right? That's kind of like how much difference that you read. going in this. But this is really different because all these items can be built second. After you go Eclipse, right, I can build Cleaver or Armor Shred. Let's say I'm playing against a tank that build Armor first item, Cleaver second, right? Don't need it. If I'm not playing against a tank that is going to build armor, or don't have some insane armor per level, right? I'll go. Let's say I'm playing against Yone, for example. Well, Yone I go Serpent, so I'm not gonna lie. But let's say I'm playing against some AD mid or some AD champ that is like doing a lot to me, right? That's diving onto you. You can just go Death Sand second. Yeah, do that. And let's say you're playing against Diana or FaZe, for example. Champions that can one shot you. You can go Maw first into Eclipse, or you can do Maw second. See? Right? You can just do Maw. And then you can grab afterwards, right? You can grab your cleaver. So when you do like Death Sense and Maw though, try to go cleaver third. Right? Or grab the Death Sense Maw, then cleaver. Don't like you're gonna put spear back because armor per level comes in. It's just better, it's gonna be better to just get cleaver, right? At that point. So that's the thing with Bruiser build. Resistance. You can grab these and just be very durable, taking a lot of damage because you're gonna be diving in, so you're gonna want that. And that's it. That's really it for like the bruiser build in terms of how how it works. You gotta adapt. You gotta build what you need. When I'm watching the players play in Naafiri, it's so annoying sometimes seeing their builds. Like they're going like no eclipse versus like tanks. They're going like no resistance item versus like certain things. They're going spear, right? Versus like Leandry's users and like a lot of HP shredders. Like do not go spear if they have Leandry's and stuff, right? Get the magic resist first or the death stance, right? And then you get the spear afterwards. You don't do spear versus a bunch of HP shredders. Don't do that. Deal your resistance first, then get it. So it's really annoying to see like pros just like do that all the time because it's like, why would you build like that? I mean, I know pros don't, a lot of times it's not about the builds, they just care about like how they're playing the game and so forth. But that's why I'm putting this out there. Hopefully some pros go through this video and see some of the builds and actually look at it and think about how they're going to build when they're facing so forth. Right? Other than that, though, some situational items here: Guardian Angel, Spirit, Visage, Randuin. So these basically are very, very niche. Basically, if they have a full AD team, I can go Guardian Angel or Randuins. Right, Randuins is better for the crit if the enemy has a high crit. So they have Yasuo Yone, and then some crit ADC. Okay, I can run this. Otherwise, G is pretty nice, gives a lot of damage and on armor and a revive, so you can dive in and get that revive afterwards. Spirit Visage, the magic resist version. So if you go Maw and then let's say they're full AP, you can go Spirit Visage too. But here's the thing, I would go Spirit Visage, especially if I have like a Yumi or a Sona or something after, so some enchanter, right? Not Lulu, because Lulu ult doesn't count, but like an enchanter that actually heals and shields. This Spirit Visage is gonna be really, really nice and are building with them. Alright. Um Hubris, I don't really do an assassin build anymore, but if I was to do an assassin build, right, this is how it was. Right. Early when I was starting out, this is how it kinda was. Um it's basically just you build these two items and then after that it is can go opportunity or Sorelda. Yeah, like that's how it would really look. All right. And then after that though you can go like what's it called again? You can do like serpents, Usually, like with this build, like serpents comes in or something of that sort, right? A lot of lethality to build in for the axiom, but the thing is, right? This build just get a lot worse after all the changes. Not really worth. I mean, again, an example here. I've not done that build. I can't remember the last time I built axiom. I think I remember doing it on like a Smurf account and I lost. I say Smurf, but yeah, it was in Diamond, right? So, oh, here's one. 46. It's a month ago. The last time I did this was a month ago. But I mean, it can be nice. It's just it makes it harder for you. So if you do want to do this build, though, I do say like these are your options, right? Remember, you want to focus on building lethality so that the seed on this goes down, right? Cool. Now, I mean, this video is long. I'm sorry, but this is 30 minutes in, just explaining the items here. Now we're gonna get into runes, right? Going to get into the runes. Okay. Okay. Hold on. Wait, just to double check here, because I think that thing was in the screen. Hold on. Here, just a double check. This is how the assassin build will look. You know, boots options up top. Cool. All right. And they just buff opportunity too. So I mean, that's cool. Anyways, next up, runes. Now there's 3 rune pages that I go. Cool. Let's get into it. Start to speed up though. This video is going so long. Okay. Runes. I talked about this before, right? I don't think I need to say too much, but you know, I will say what I need to say. Electrocute page. This is your standard page of your electrocute setup. You don't really make I don't really be making any much changes here. There is one thing that I do change out. Get into that soon. But electrocute. Electrocute, the reason why we go electrocute a lot more now is because they buffed the electrocute damage. So before electrocute damage was 50. Level 1, 50. Right? Comet is 30. If you land 2 comet procs, it's 60 damage. Outdoes electrocute. But now electrocute does 70 damage. So even if you land 2 comet, right? Procs, electrocute will be back up in time. Right? So electrocute and still would do 10 more damage, guaranteed, if you hit both Qs. So that's the thing with comet. So chance of you like landing, you both, getting 2 procs in laning phase and also getting and having a comet actually hit the opponent, because it can miss, right? You do factor that in, right? Comet is not gonna be better in lane for like damage than electrocute, typically speaking, right? Now, study impact, by the way, I think I said this already, but I've actually really underestimated sudden impact. They said that a long time ago. Sudden impact does crazy amount of damage. It actually does more than cut down. Like probably like 60% of it, 70% of the time, it does more damage than cut down. I feel like, or so. So I was actually surprised to see that. And I think that comes down to the fact that it is true damage. So in the late game, like I'll land Q and then like E, and then get prop. Like even when you're not going for kill. Now this row, I mean, there's no like this is third worst rune in the game, right? And then this one is deep ward, which is kind of awkward because if you go blue ward or red chink, you can't use it. So I don't like this rune because it requires you to use yellow trinket. I don't keep yellow trinket, but it can be good if you play around. You know, Momentus just works with all trinkets. Now for this tree, right, treasure hunter over ultimate hunter. Reason being is because gold is just like very, very. So, and the way how gold works, right? Let's say this thing gives me it gain an additional 50 gold the next time you collect a bounty stack. 20 gain by 20 gold for each. So let's say I get 50 gold, right? And then I get like another kill. So I get like shit, I get like one what 20 at that point. So the way how this works, right? How what gold works is that people think that, oh, when you get more gold, right, you minus it. Like, let's say your item costs 3,000 gold. You're like, okay, well, it adds me up to that, right? And then I have like extra gold left over or whatnot. But that's not actually how gold works, right? People think that, oh, it allows you to make up gold to buy an item. And that's all they really, for the most part, think. That's not how gold works. This is how gold actually works. Let's say, all right, I said it earlier too, right, in this video. Let's say I need my Eclipse, right, 2,900 gold. I buy my, I need one more wave to buy this. And because you need one more wave, right, you have to stay on the map for one more wave, which means that and let's say you're like 1 HP, for example. Let's say in a scenario where you're 1 HP and you need to, you need one more wave. You can't stay for that one more wave, you'll die. But if you had this, right, you would have made enough gold so you don't have to stick around for one more wave. And then because you didn't die, you don't get the enemy gold, you don't mess up your tempo, you don't put yourself further behind, staying on the map when you don't need to, which means that you drop more CS, you drop more XP, right? And so forth. So that is the reason. Or you're forced to take a recall on a bad timer, right? You recall, you don't have your item, you have to come back without your item, and then dragon is up, right? Or you have to fight the enemy and try to get another good recall timer. That is how it works. That is actually how gold works. And that's why this just has way more value than like when it comes to like laning, at least, right? So it's just like that's just how gold works. You don't really see that. You have to mess it like it say it can help you with your tempo. Right? Dragon is coming up, right? You don't have enough gold for your item, but if you have this, right, you'd have enough. Okay, you show up to dragon with your completed item. You have serpents now, for example. Shredding all those shields. It's big. It's game changing, right? That's how Treasure Hunter works. Ultimate Hunter, right, gives you ultimate haste, right? But you're not spamming ulti off cooldown. It's just not as valuable. It can have cases where, oh, if my ulti was up, but most times it's just better to have an item here. And also I mentioned that with this item or this rune is that you're buying completed items. Not necessarily. Still can work for components. The Dirk is very broken, right? So if you can get a Serrated Dirk, you can get a pickaxe, right? Any of these things that you can buy, it's huge. Cool. And the Relentless Hunter, right? This is a nice rune though. They're all really nice though, depending on who you're playing. But like when I'm jungling on Morgana, right? Like, and then when I'm playing Aurora, I go this. They all have their little use, and it's really depending on the champion like value, what they really value. But Aurora, right, uses ulti like as soon as Aurora ulti is up, you kind of want to use it. Kind of how it is. So that's why Ultimate Hunter is really nice on it. Okay. Um, Presence of mind. You show up to fights, you combo, you don't have enough mana. Wow. You don't have enough mana to get your combo off, or you kill one person, you don't have enough mana. Presence of mind fixes that issue, right? I don't really need to say much about that. You get the kill, and then you get back the mana to continue the fight. And mana is life, right? Because your Q heals, killing the enemy, all of that stuff is really. Cut down is also really, really nice. As I said, cut down is just like really insane. Really, really good because it's just better than this. I've already explained how this works. But basically, right, as I said, right, enemies show up to lane at 100% health. So 100% down to 60%, you're getting the full value of this, right? 40% to 0% players, when they are 20% or 10%, they leave lane. They cut. They're gone. So you don't get the value. It's better you get them low enough to where you can try to kill them instead of trying to struggle to get them low enough to like, okay, well, I'm gonna do more damage now. But people be more careful when they're low. So don't be worse, right? You interact with more times you interact with that. You can check every stat website, right? That's what it shows too. But this is something that you can just think about. Like if you think about it critically, right, you should be able to arrive at this without needing to look at stats. And then if you look at stats, you just back it up too. So yeah. Last time, not really good on Naafiri, to be honest. So this is the typical page, right? The only change that I do sometimes is I run flat health sometimes. And why do I run flat health? Is because when I'm playing against a Talon, one of those champions that is trying to murder you in lane very quickly, having extra HP over the scaling HP a lot better. Especially, and in those matchups, I do take Ignite. Run Ignite. Ignite just got buffed this patch too, right? From level 7 onwards. So, which means that, early game is still the same, right? But Ignite is very good on Naafiri or in those matchups where they're trying to kill you and you need to kill them first. So, having Ignite and running this versus those champs, I think I may even, I even have a game where I did really good. I think it's, let me find it for y'all right here. I might put this out as a gameplay video, but I literally died because I didn't have it, and then Talon lived level 1, but I came back and killed him. So yeah, so I may put that video out after. All right, so yeah, that's it for this page though. Cool. Next page. This is Conquer. A lot of people, people are always talking about Conquer, right? I be telling them, hey, you know, um, be telling them all kind of whatever reason, right? But anyways, this is the Conquer page that I go to Conquer a lot as well. So this is the page, this. So let's see the runes that are different, right? Conquer. Basically when the basic attacks or spells, so when I'm going to be trading with the enemy in a long duels where I can actually auto attack them, Conquer is very nice. So that is when Conquer is when you're actually auto attacking, you're going for longer, right? So a lot of champions that you may think, oh, I want Conquer Verse because um they are very durable and I want to be able to do damage to them. Not necessarily. Because if you're playing against, for example, Darius, right? Or I'm just saying, like Darius, you can probably still run Conqueror versus Darius though, but I'm just using this as an example. Let's say I'm playing against Darius, right? Are you going melee range to trade with Darius? You're not, right? You'll die. So you're not actually trading with them for long. You want to poke. Yeah, get it. Haste rune. Haste over attack speed, right? People be like, oh, what about attack speed on the Fury because it dogs at a 1-to-1 ratio. Don't do it, bro. It's worse, literally. It's better you have CDR 15%, 15 ability haste, right? Your Q, W, E, R, all benefiting. OP. Not much to say there. It's just not reliable to play around attack speed on the Fury because dogs can be stunned, dogs can be killed, dogs can be kited, right? Although they do get off a lot of damage though, right? And they're a very important part of your kit, but they're like to play around them in terms of like attack speed and just in my opinion, just not better you focus on like having your CTR so you can send out more Qs, send out your W, use your Ws, gap close, R. And as you know, cut down better. Cool. And then these runes, same. I should say here. This is what I run though. Use it in the past though. I would run like something like this, just to have the extra mana and CDR. But as I said, right, sudden pet damage is so good that I just really want to try to run this room if I can. Right. So I don't really do this anymore. Although it can work, right? I would prefer to just have these. Cool. And last but not least is Comet. Now you're probably wondering, oh damn, there's a Comet page. Like is Comet not good anymore? Blah blah blah. Yeah, Comet is still fine. As I said, Comet didn't get nerfed. Electrocute just got better, right? and electrocute is going to be better for laning. But what Comet has over electrocute, that Comet actually still does scale better than electrocute. If you look here, right, Comet, it says Comet damage goes up to 130, right? Electrocute damage goes up to 240. So if you get two Comet procs in the late game, right, 130 plus 130, guys, that's 260. It's doing 20 more damage than electrocute at level 18, or So it does outscale it. In the late game, it will guarantee be doing more DP than electrocute, especially with the fact that it doesn't have that static cooldown of 20 seconds. It goes down, and then when you bleed and then your dogs hit people, it lowers the E of it. Yeah, you get multiple comet procs in. So comet does outscale electrocute, right, in the later stages of the game, right? In terms of DPS, it will provide more DPS. Right, because electrocute is still going to be really good if you're jumping on the target and want to one-shot them. Electrocute is going to do that way better, right? But you're playing longer fights, Comet is just gonna be nice. But then you're thinking, if you're playing for longer fights, right? Wouldn't it be better to just go Conqueror? So that's where it. But this is the big difference between the two now, right? When I want to go either one. So when I go the Comet page, right, I run haste now. I don't run absolute focus anymore because the ulti used to give so much AD, right? And the skills off bonus AD. The W has it now, but it's less. Not worth. In my opinion, it's not worth to run this anymore. And the fact that the W is such a like strong ability, you can use it to dodge spells, right? So it just like it being up because of this will be so much nice. So and the cooldown is so high that it actually is shaving off a good amount. Because one thing, right? If you have a low, your CDs are low and you're shaving off the the remaining cooldown of basic abilities by 20%, right? 20% off the remaining. It's not if it's like if it's coming up in 4 seconds, bro. 20% of 4 seconds is nothing, right? If you're shaving off 20% of like, let's say for example, 20 seconds left on it, that's decent. You know what I'm saying? Or even like if it's lower. So yeah. And then I would go Gathering Storm over Scorch. Well, actually, you can go both. It's just that if I really wanted to focus on doing damage in lane phase, I would have went Scorch. I would have electrocute. But since I'm not, Scorch is not what I want to go when I'm going this page. But here's a big here's so it's kind of like two big reasons why I run this page, you know. But the biggest reason is this right here. So when I'm against a champion that is poking a lot, like Syndra, Oriana, stuff like that, and I just really want that sustain. I want resolve. I want a second win, and then I grab the overgrowth. This will allow me to have like 200 more extra HP off before my first recall, which is what is important, right? Because when you're running resolve, right, second win is really good for laning phase. Early laning phase is not good late game, right? Because you'll die faster. Because you're taking repeated hits for like several minutes, right? That's what second really good in lane. And because of how this works, right? You're in lane. If you check it, you're gonna have like 200 more HP off lane. If you look at your health bar and you see you have 300, right? Minus 200 from that, or minus the second win value that you have from that, that is actually how much HP you would have had. And then you see, oh, the situation would be super scary if you didn't have it. So second win is the big reason why I go comment, right? And it's also really nice for those champions because a lot of times with those champions, I can't even focus on trying to hit them. I'm trying to focus on getting C. So having this, right? When I send one Q on the wave and one on them, it's good, right? Because I need to Q the wave. I can't walk up because I'm taking so much damage. Electrocute, right? Let's say electrocute, I need to land both Qs to rock electrocute. So I need to dedicate both my Qs to the enemy. So when I have electrocute, right, I play a lot. I hold on to my Q more and aim them more at the enemy when I'm ready to use to get both. so I can probably electrocute. If electrocute is up off at least, right? And but with Comet, right, I can send one Q on the wave, one on the enemy without thinking twice about doing that. Yes, I can land two on them, right? Too, if I, the situation is bad, but yeah, it just makes it a lot more. Also, another big reason why you have extra sustain with this page too is mana flow. So I was playing a Comet game like last night. Here it is. This one is on the main account that we got to 1K LP yesterday. Yes, right. I was able to Q the Raptors to heal and then solo kill the Oriana because I had the mana to Q Raptors, so I had the extra HP to go in to fight her. And mana flow ban, right? Restore mana by just existed. That's the difference between this and presence of mind. Presence of mind, you need to hit them to get back mana. You need to kill them to get back mana. Mana flow ban, you don't. As long as you have it stacked up though, right? It's good to go. And also, it can increase your mana pool by 250. Right? EQ 75 mana at level 9. Like this is giving you so much more Qs because of that. Right? So much more times. Right? So if you think about it that way, right? So let's say I was healing like 100 off that. And I'll be able to get like what? About, let's say I get like 3 Qs. Just off the base mana, right? The base increase off the mana. Then that means that I got like 300 plus more health. And this doesn't count for the missing mana that you're restoring every 5 seconds. I count that in, right? Let's say it's about 4. Okay, then now I have like 400 plus more health. Just saying. Also, guys, look, this right here is the jungle rune pages. So for jungle, it's conqueror, all right? As you know, because you want to be dueling jungler. Like if you're in the jungle and you're playing fights, you're dueling, etc. Conqueror is just gonna be really good for that, right? And you go triumph. You don't need mana in jungle. When you're in the jungle, it restores mana. Haste over this. A lot of people be like, oh, the alacrity stuff, as I mentioned, right? Or yeah, haste is just gonna be better there. Um, and then coup de grace over cut down. So coup is so because with jungling, right? Normally, where you show up the lanes, right? Or you're fighting. Let's say you meet a jungler, right? Normally, what happens here is that they are not full health, so you're not really getting the full value of it, right? Yanking the lane, right? They're not the full HP, so that's why Coop can be like I would rather go Coop. Although the stats do say cut down is still performing danger, but I would run Coop as when I'm jungling. Magical footwear, free boots, typical, and then cosmic insight. This will lower your smite cooldown so you can get more smites off, right? That is kind of the biggest reason for this. Item haste, like, is nice for like Eclipse, but I mean, it's like, I think you're really just going this more so for the smite because I even had my friend jungling and could have stole enemy red, but his smite wasn't up, and they walked over and smote it from him. Yeah, but yeah, cosmic, really nice, right? And for jungling too, with the bill is that remember you want to stick to the bruiser bills, right? For the most part, because you're actually diving in and taking damage for the most part. Can do cast a bill in jungle too, of course, but I mean, if you see the angle for it, right? It's the same thing. You can run the caster bill, right? Make sure that when you're doing it, do it properly. That's all. Okay. Right? And as for the rule spells, guys, as I said, ignite, teleport, flash, ignite, flash. Ignite got buff. I mean, probably just run ignite more games than not. If you don't know how to use teleport, right? That's fine. You can run ignite. Ignite is completely okay. It's actually good, right? But if you know how to side lane, right? You know how to actually use teleport to like get CS advantage, get more gold on the map, etc. Right? Teleport really good. So it's better for like the higher elo players. If you're not higher elo, I probably recommend just running it, to be honest, because I feel like a lot of y'all will not, you know, like you'll think that you want to use teleport to like show up to lane because you died and you want to teleport, but not. That's not exactly. There's so much ways to use teleport to cross map, push out a lane, cross map. You can use teleport to catch a wave. Use teleport to pressure a turret, so forth. But yeah, but that's kind of it though, guys, for the video in terms of the runes and items. Check my match history though to see if there's any more changes that I may do. But like right now, I've been those are what I've been running for a while now. Oh, and speaking of that, I am going to be doing a rank one climb again. Going to be using my main account, right? So I just wanted to get this one to challenger, right? And then now that it's child is gonna promote tonight, I will go for 1K. Sorry, I will go for rank one, which I need basically 2K LP for. So I gotta double this basically. Now, why am I doing that? I did it before. Rank 12 was my peak on like last year. Um, and really and truly, guys, it's just fun to do. It's just fun to going. It's just when I was doing it last year, it was just fun to do. That's really just it. It's just fun. It's just a nice little challenge. I love playing in Hilo. Yeah. Um. Yeah. I mean, the video is done, guys. I mean, if you watch all of this, everything, and listen to all of this, that's crazy. Much love. I'll be posting more YouTube videos in terms of gameplay videos, just full gameplay, so you guys can analyze gameplay and understand how to play Naafiri, right? Oh, wait, hold on. I did forget to mention. I edited it. But yeah, that's pretty much it though for this video. Guys, take care. I'll see what I can do for another video to explain like mechanics with Naafiri. But right now I'll just drop the full gameplay video so you guys can watch those and just like understand what I'm doing and then just like follow that. So I'm gonna be dropping some of those. So I think I might drop this game, to be honest. I did die level 1, but you know, cool. Anyways, or level 2, I think. Yeah, but it was good overall. Anyways, guys, take care. Love y'all. See y'all in future videos. Comment what you guys think, if you guys like the video, and comment what you want to see. Because I'm gonna be putting a lot more content in May. I'm gonna be uploading as often as I can. All right, see y'all. Take care. Our video, man. Damn. Sorry, I just be yapping. But I hope this was a lot of information for you. And I feel like I really needed to talk a lot because I haven't made a video in a while. So yeah, take care. Love y'all. Peace. Oh, also for streams, you can catch me live on Twitch. Um, link in description. I will be streaming from 9 p.m. EST to 5 a.m. EST, right? Jamaican time. That is the hours I work with. Bye bye.